Cliche Podcast. Your silence hurts us. Podcast. Your silence hurts us. Quote. Over the air radio Alamal FM on 95.5 to 98.8 megahertz. The podcast, Your Silence Hurts Us, part of the Women Peacemakers Project. Implemented by Alamal Women's and Sociocultural Foundation. The podcast, Your Silence Hurts Us. Produced by Hadramaut Media and Development Foundation Radio Alamal FM. Prepared by Shadi Muhammad and Amar bin Johar. Presented by Kamar Sami. Editing and audio engineering, Amar Salem. Supervisor, Salwa Muhammad Bakhtar. Dear listeners, we greet you again, to the 4th episode of podcast, Your Silence Hurts Us. You are listening to Alamal FM, on 89.8 and 95.5 megahertz. The topic of our episode for today is a continuation of the previous episode, and our topic is the reasons or ways to limit the violations of women activists defending the rights of violated women and human rights. Before we start, we renew our introduction to the Your Silence Hurts Us campaign through the following Focus View report. The beginning of the Focus View, introducing the campaign through the Focus View report. The Your Silence Hurts Us campaign comes within the Peacemakers project funded by DTI to achieve justice within the Justice for Yemen Pact, which aims to monitor violations resulting from the conflict in Yemen. The project works to build the capacity of monitors and workers in the specialized Together for Her network in monitoring and documenting violations against abused women and activists defending women's rights and human rights in Hadramaut. The Women Peacemakers project will last for 19 months and includes several different activities that contribute to the process of monitoring violations for justice within the Justice for Yemen Pact. The campaign, Your Silence Hurts Us, aims to mobilize and finance local and international support to improve the protection of activists defending women's rights and human rights. Improving the image of women defenders within society and increasing community awareness about violations in general and violations against women defenders in particular. The campaign, Your Silence Hurts Us, was launched coinciding with the approaching 16-day activities to combat violence against women, which focuses light on the violations suffered by women and human rights defenders. The campaign adopts a message not to be silent about violations against women activists and defenders. The campaign encourages female activists to reveal what they are subjected to violations and clarify the challenges they face while defending women's rights and human rights. Dear listeners, the campaign, Your Silence Hurts Us, has various activities, including this podcast, Your Silence Hurts Us, which you are listening to on Alamal FM radio. There are other activities on mass media and social media sites, including positive messages and articles about women defender activists, and a workshop that will be carried out by organizations within the Justice for Yemen Pact, to discuss all aspects that contribute to the protection of women defender activists. The end of Focus View, introducing the campaign through the Focus View report. Dear listeners, to know how we can limit the violations that Yemeni women activists defending women's rights and human rights may be subjected to, we must remember that women activists, like other women, can be subjected to all forms of violation and abuse that women are subjected to in Yemen for many causes, which we mentioned in previous episodes, and the suggested methods are the same to reduce violations of women in general, which we also referred to in previous episodes. However, the situation of the women activist and defender is somewhat different, especially since she may be subjected to the same types and forms of violations that all women are exposed to for the same reasons, such as domestic violence, early marriage, deprivation of education or a certain level of education, and others. However, on top of that, the female activist is exposed to violation and violence because she is an activist defending human rights or women's rights, whether because of war or her condemnation of one of the parties. Conflict involves violating human rights in a specific area or because of societal norms and customs. Therefore, the methods available to limit the violations to which women activists are subjected also include treatment that can limit the violation of all women. However, we must now review the solutions that concern her being an activist and continuing to defend others without being subjected to violation. This means limiting the exposure of all women to any violations. Dear listeners, we can summarize the most important plans to address and limit the causes of violations against women activists as follows. Filled Circle. The activist's belief in the importance of her presence as a defender of the rights of others and other women, and that her silence about her rights and any violence or abuse means an increase in the rates of violations among women in particular and the violation of human rights in general in our society. Filled Circle. Uniting community efforts to protect women activists in particular and demanding the activation of all systems and laws that guarantee the protection of activists and all women from any violations. Filled Circle. The movement of women and human rights components in society to create pacts with the parties to the conflict so that no activist or defender in the conflict area will object to any form of violation, and work to provide the necessary support to limit her exposure to violations of all kinds and give her the right to defend the rights of other women to remove any violations against them. Filled Circle. Community awareness of the importance of supporting women activists in the field of human rights, defending the issues of abused women, and involving all societal and religious components in this regard. Filled Circle. Expanding the activist circle of relations with all human rights organizations, sectors demanding women's rights, and institutions specialized in protecting women from abuse so that she submits reports to these bodies as soon as she is exposed to abuse. Filled Circle. Using media outlets and social media sites to expose the person who committed the violation against the activist and try to create public opinion against him, especially if revealing the identity of this person does not harm her or offend her or her family. Filled Circle. If the activist is unable to resist the violation to which she was exposed in any of the ways mentioned, she could seek the help of those close to her, such as her family, friends, or colleagues, to report her condition and have her monitored by specialized authorities, which works to stop and limit the violation. After our episode, dear listeners, we renew our call to all women who have been subjected to violations, including activists, human rights defenders, and other women, to report and communicate with the Together for Her network, which is a network of Yemeni women that works to monitor and document cases of violations that women are exposed to due to the war, and because of these prolonged violations as well. Yemeni women activists and defenders. The network announces that it receives reports of violations through the network application in the Google Play Store, which bears the name, Together for Her Network, or by calling the following number, 776,520,320. The network will provide all necessary support to all women, activists, and defenders who have been subjected to violation and violence and will work to stop and prevent it. In addition, limit its occurrence, knowing that the case is received and monitored quickly to ensure the protection of the violated case. Allah bless you all until a new episode.